Oh no, now this is a match truly made in hell. Asmongold and David Jaffe. Boys, remember, two mentally deficient wrongs don't make one mentally non-deficient right.
I'm just going to say it. I think a lot of it is a lot of these game developers, and again, I don't know this for a fact. I'll just speak for me.
Ugly female leads in video games. Okay.
But I don't like a lot of these kinds of people that push back on the art, right? I find them simple minded. I find them unevolved. I find them frustratingly basic.
Oh, wow, that was it. So that's a great start. So what he did just there is the pinnacle of stupidity, by the way, and that's hilarious considering it's just 20 seconds into the video. He claimed that people who push back against art are bad. And then he proceeded to do a bunch of ad hominems against people who don't like when that stuff is being done. And in this case, his argument for why that is bad most likely is just doing a bunch of ad hominems because how dare you say something like that, which is not even close to how the world works. So this is going to be great.
So this guy over in the Discord, Peter Ryan, sent me this video. He said, I think you should watch this Asmongold video. Whether you choose to respond, I think it might give you a better opinion of the guy. And I've never, this is the first time I've ever watched an entire video. I usually see clips of him on Twitter. And then I saw a couple of things when there was a bit of a brouhaha a couple of weeks ago. But I don't, it seems very well spoken, good on the fly.
You lost when you said seems very well spoken about Asmongold and good on the fly. Jesus.
I don't agree with, well, it's not that I don't agree, but I take issue with some of his points. This is basically about video game characters.
Taking issue with some of his points, by the way, is pretty much the same as not agreeing. But okay.
Specifically in Witcher 4 and in Intergalactic. Witcher 4...
Oh boy, dude, that has been such a giant push about the Witcher 4 and Intergalactic. Dude, this is like the new Vogue Battleground, by the way. They have lost everything, and now for some reason it seems like they're just on mass going to gaming, which is hilarious and, by the way, very funny content. But they are dead set on the idea that ugly female leads in games influenced by politics and wokeness is not gonna be bad for the sales. It's like they haven't never heard of Concord, Dustborn, Dragon Age, Veilguard, or any of these franchises that have suffered greatly because of these things.
Just briefly, I'll say the same thing I said about Dragon Age. I'm not a big Witcher guy. Assuming you can get past, some people seem to be able to, some people don't, that the lore does or doesn't allow for there to be women Witchers, how much that bothers you.
Yeah, the interesting thing about The Witcher 4 is, yeah, well, they messed up Ciri in so many unbelievable ways, it's insane and hilarious. They seemingly made her a Witcher because, well, it's The Witcher 4. It's not like you can play a non-Witcher character, which, by the way, does technically make sense. But this is why I personally thought that maybe they're not gonna pick Ciri as the main character for Witcher 4, because, again, it's The Witcher. And what's the point of her being a Witcher? None. Actually, legitimately no point in being a Witcher, in fact. But now she's a Witcher. And an uglified one. Now, she did not get fully uglified, but you can tell that the point of everything that they did was to not make her hot, which is effectively almost the same as uglification. If you are going out of your way so hard to give all the facial features, wow, what a tongue twister for autistic people, to a woman, I mean, even if the result is not butthole ugly, you still put in effort willingly to make her less hot, which is bad. And, well, Intergalactic. There's nothing to say about that. That's just a freak show.
The character themselves, though, I think if you're comfortable with it no longer being, what's his name, Gerard, whatever the fuck his name is, and there's no...
Jeffrey. His name is Jeffrey.
Lore issues. At that point, you're just arguing over if the girl is hot enough or not, right? So I'll stick it with that.
Which is a valid argument, by the way. And for anyone who's woke and saying, oh, you just want characters to be goon material. Let me just, for the sake of argument, let's say my only interest in gaming is the fact that the character is 120% goon material. So what? What? Am I not allowed to want that? Are you now gonna shame me for what I choose to like? That sounds very bigoted of you. That sounds very Nazi Trump of you. Why can't I want a goon to a character? Again, the arguments that these people use is literally just the equivalent of, and? Why shouldn't this be an issue for me?
If you're upset for other reasons about that, it's out of my wheelhouse. I don't know much about it, but I will speak to Intergalactic because none of us pretty much know anything about it except what we saw at the Game Awards.
Yeah, we saw enough at the Game Awards. Okay, we got 4 minutes of literal poison
with the trailer. That really kind of gets to the heart of this to me, which is there's kind of 3 things that jump out. One is sort of the artistic intent and creation of video games. The second one is the business of video games, and the third one is kind of a hypocritical thing that I hear certain people saying in this argument. So why don't we start with the art part first? So Asmongold here says, he's like, look, man, you're making these games and men are your primary audience, at least for this kind of space intergalactic game, and most men are straight. And so, and in that...
Now, by the way, Asmongold, God bless his autistic brain, is probably still gonna be right on the money about something as this basic. We make fun of Asmongold not when he makes opinions about games, because those opinions he actually is right about most of the time. Like 9 out of 10 times, you know, he is gonna be right about those things. We make fun of him about everything else because that's where his retardness shines the most.
That basically give us what we want. Why would we want what you're serving us? We don't want normal characters. We don't want ugly characters. Fulfill our fantasies. I mean, he's saying it more elegant and much more articulate than that, but that's the gist of it, right? And so here's my thought, and here's my response to that, which is, I think, you know, for the longest time, we have had the media telling game creators, you're artists. This is the next big medium. You're as important as filmmakers. Here's your award, blah, blah, blah. You know, whether you believe...
we have already surpassed the medium of film and whatnot forever. The games industry makes way more money than the film industry. It has a wider reach. More people are interested in it. This has been a non-starter for conversations forever. And also, no one really cares about this in gaming. No one cares if it's the equivalent of film or not.
Believe that or not, it's usually just PR, but everything's PR. But I do think you've gotten to a point, certainly with a studio like Sony that's put a lot of energy and money and promotion and have had a lot of success with treating video games as more of a sort of cinematic art form that happens to be a game, where a lot of these creators are...
Okay, this is why this guy is a complete full-blown moron. Because he's gonna not name a single thing that actually substantiates his claims. He's just gonna say... By the way, that's what I have seen enough videos of him to know. That's why I felt fully confident in the first 10 seconds of the video, just calling that out, because he's not gonna explain it. What are these cinematic masterpieces by fucking Sony? I have no idea what he's talking about. Are there games with cutscenes? Yes. Is there a single game that's out there successful because it's a giant cutscene? No. In fact, the last one that came out was Hellblade 2. And people fucking laughed at it because it was more or less just a movie, and that's no longer cutting it in the modern day. Maybe 15 years ago that would have been impressive, but not any longer. So, The only example of something that is supposed to be the equivalent of cinema, because it's more of a, a cutscene story-esque type of thing, is exactly Hellblade 2, and no one fucking liked that.
Now sort of doing what the guys in Hollywood do, which is trying to tell more grounded stories, even though, yes, it's about a bounty hunter in space.
No, none of these stories are more grounded. No one's in Hollywood trying to make more grounded stories. This is a complete lie. Show me a single grounded story. It doesn't exist. All of these stories are pure fucking fiction with a political undertone.
Or about a monster fighter or whatever, the sense of these don't have to be just simple Spider-Man, Superman comic book stories. These things can be meaningful expressions of an art form. Again, whether you agree or not is irrelevant, but if you do look, and this will get into the business thing a little bit, but if you look at, like, this is just sort of Ranker looked at actresses that are, most people would agree are very, very attractive, but they've kind of,
yeah, okay. Nicole Kidman's not bad, I guess.
Brought down their glam for certain roles, right? So here's Nicole Kidman.
Wait. Bringing down your glam is not the same as ugly. Okay? Her looking like this normally and her looking like this now, I'm sorry, but this is not ugly. This is not ugly.
Who clearly, if you saw this woman in a starring role of a sci-fi movie, you'd go, cool. If you saw this one, you would say, okay, well, this is interesting. Like, is this an indie space film about a sci-fi bounty hunter who is having existential crisis?
No, I would not. That's retarded.
Crises while she's flying around, stopping bad guys. Like, it would be a different kind of film. Charlize Theron, come on, right? This was her in Monster. She won an Oscar for that. So I get the idea.
That's just her without makeup.
You're going to get a lot of people who want to be serious creators in the industry and or just simply be seen as such going, hey, we want to do that too. So I get it. I mean, even to the point that when we did God of War, now it's different, where one of the things I will agree with what Asmongold says in this video is, the majority of gamers of this kind of game, doesn't mean there weren't women that enjoyed God of War and all that stuff. Of course there were. But the majority of people who enjoy this kind of game are men. Okay. And so it doesn't bother them as much if your character is a male and he's a little bit more rough around the edges. We intentionally made Kratos in 2005. Here he is. We broke his nose, or at least we designed him as if his nose had been broken. Nobody's going to look at this guy at a face level and go, he's a GQ model. It's just that was the intent. But probably because most people playing it were men, they didn't really care all that much.
Well, Kratos is also not ugly. We have a different standard for men's beauty and women's beauty, obviously.
Right? But I get it. I get why you would want to do that as a creator if you want to ground your game a little bit more. So I do think there is kind of
also, I couldn't fucking tell that Kratos has a broken nose.
An unspoken truth about this, which is, and I'm just gonna say it. I think a lot of it is a lot of these game developers, and again, I don't know this for a fact. I'll just speak for me, but I don't like a lot of these kinds of people that push back on the art. Right? I find them simple-minded. I find them unevolved.
Oh God, it's the clip. Okay.
I find.
Dude, okay, place your bets. Is he gonna actually explain why they are bad? Because keep in mind, he hasn't explained any of his reasonings and why he is right in the past 5 minutes. So,
them frustratingly basic. And on the flip side, they see us as very similar, right? They go, you think you're smarter than everybody else, and you're brainwashed by the left and the progressive agenda, and you abuse your kids, and you're terrible, and blah, 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 blah. And so...
Yeah, but, okay, so here's the problem. The fact that he just mentions, for example, abusing your kids is already a reason why we are right, because that is a reason that we think that they are the bad people. Okay? In his just basic description of why we are the same side of the coin as him, he already mentioned a reason why we think what we think. But for his way of thinking, there is no reason, there is no justification. And obviously, he did not do that intentionally.
So let's not pretend that one side is the only one with a dog in this fight. Both.
No. This is completely untrue. Again, I can explain all of this. Okay? If you want to argue about one side being a cult, the other side not being a cult, or any of that shit, I can give you actual reasons why I think what I think. You can't.
Both sides pretty much seem to disrespect the shit out of each other. And as a creator, at one time anyway, there is a real sense of I am.
That's also, again, completely not true. We say about the left side, we don't want this, we don't want this pushed on this, we don't want you doing this, we don't want you subverting things for us, we don't want you changing the world because you think you are right. That's what we are saying. The left, on the other hand, is saying that we are evil. We need to be put in our place. No one should listen to us because Hitler and whatnot. Okay, we're saying don't do this because we don't want you to do this. If you want to do this, do it on your own time, not on our behalf. And the other one is just claiming that the people who don't agree with them are pure fucking evil and should be eradicated.
Not going to give my blood, sweat, and tears for 4, 5, 6 years working with hundreds of people and simply be a short order cook for a bunch of fucking people I don't respect. Which is why I'm always just kind of like, look, man, if these kind of guys want their games, they should go make them themselves, or they should hire people, because there's plenty of conservative people out there, I assume, that can make video games, just like Fox News did. Start a company, start a news division, start a video game division that totally is like, hey, we're going to go for the red state guys. Totally fine. Because I do think there's a massive disrespect. Now, I don't mean as people. Certainly, I don't know this guy, Asmongold, or anybody.
Also, that's just super over fucking simplifying things, because a lot of these industries get their money from places that are literally saying, hey, you must be woke to get a loan.
Like him. My guess would be that if we were to meet in real life and sit down and eat lunch together, we'd disagree mightily over a lot of things, but I don't really disrespect him as a fellow human on the planet. I just think the way he thinks is very not appealing to me. And I imagine he would agree with the way I think, or think the same.
I don't understand how he can say that, considering a minute and a half ago he said anyone who thinks like this is a fucking retard, effectively. Like, do you not see the problem in this?
Same thing. But now here's what I'll say, though, where I think he's very correct, which is, end of the day, if you are an executive, like Neil Druckmann's a special case because he's built tons of success for Sony and PlayStation and whatever, but let's just assume he's not. Let's assume he's just some guy, or let's assume it's Dragon Age. If you're making a game for a studio above, say, $40-50 million, like anything under that, go to town. If the studio wants to fund art projects for sort of award cachet or a sense of PR, or just out of the goodness of their heart, I think they can, they should, and I'm glad some of them do. And we should all support those games, if you like them, of course, where a studio steps up and says, we're going to let Kojima, Neil Druckmann, Cory Barlog, someone you've never heard of that we think has some real potential, run and totally make whatever you want within reason, because it is an art form. And sometimes, like in movies and TV, check this out, right? So if you look at, the most mainstream television show is like that NCIS thing.
This idiot doesn't understand what's the difference between art form and a political message. He's completely conflating these things. Putting a woman because you want to own the chuds is not an art form. It is a political thing. It is inherently political and has literally nothing to do with the art. Now, how ugly you make the woman, now that is art. Yes, true, but it is behind a political motivation, which makes the art almost irrelevant.
I've never really watched it, but I know what it is. We all know what it is. Most of the people in the cast are real pretty people, right? You're not going to put people in the cast that are not, they may not all be fashion plates, but they're good looking, above average looking people that are aspirational characters.
Okay, what's the point of this? He's literally just showing us proof that you can't fucking make ugly things don't sell. That's effectively his point. Okay.
And they're fun to look at and fun to escape into worlds with. And this is probably a relatively expensive show to produce, not because it's effects laden, but just because a lot of stars and big shot directors and expensive sets. But then if you look at this, I think it was called Shrill. We watched this with the Abby. I think what is her? She's on. I forget what her name is. She was on SNL. But it was very, very good. Got 2 or 3 seasons, and I
have no idea what this is. But even they tried to get the most beautiful fucking fat chick you could ever have. Now, not even sure if this is actually a fat fucking person or someone just putting a lot of makeup on. Okay, even they tried to get someone who is fat, but they tried their best to make her look good. Again, he doesn't understand this.
It's just about it's very slice of life. It's very inexpensive to make, and clearly, even though she was great in this show, it is
Hulu original Shrill. Let's see if that's even popular. Seems like a woman thing. Hulu Shrill view count. Watch Shrill blah blah blah. Shrill Rotten Tomatoes. Because Rotten Tomatoes is something. Audience score 64%. I don't know. Depends on if this is made for women. No idea. Oh, no, the actual actors for this is a fat thing. Okay. But again, yeah. Still, I can't find how many people actually watched this. Shrill. How do I fucking find this? Shrill. Oh. I can't find this, but I want to know how many views that thing actually had. Okay, I'm not trusting him when he's saying successful.
clearly not a traditional narrative. It is not a traditional leading lady in a story. And I think that's great. But if they would have said, we want the budget for NCIS to make Shrill, I think people would say you're out of your fucking mind, and they would be right. And so I do think, assuming Neil...
Wait, so he's just kind of... Wait, which side are you on? Your point should be that you can actually give the big budget to Shrill and it's gonna work out because nothing should be, because beauty is not something that matters. What the I'm so... What is he even arguing for at this point? He has proven himself multiple times wrong.
Wasn't Neil, and he hadn't kind of earned a shot, just like Christopher Nolan, told Warner Brothers, like, yeah, I'll make you another Batman, but I'm going to make my passion project, Inception, afterwards, even though and it did well, but even though it's a brand new IP, no one's ever heard of it, and Warner Brothers is like, okay, so that's kind of the Neil Druckmann scenario, I assume. But if he wasn't Neil Druckmann...
Wait, but Interstellar was like a super mega hit.
I wouldn't have a problem if Sony stepped in and said, guys, you're spending, what, 2, 3, 4, depending on who you listen to, $100 million. I get that you want to ground your character, what is called intergalactic, not interstellar, intergalactic. You want to ground her and stuff and give her more of a interesting take, and she's not just like characters we've seen multiple times. I get it.
They're looking like a failed fucking art project in a ghetto school is not an interesting take, okay?
But we're spending a lot of money.
There's nothing interesting about this character. It's literally there to just own the chuds because, haha, ugly women. I mean, male women. Whatever the fuck you want to call this. There is nothing interesting about this character. It is just a political fucking statement.
Money, and you're gonna have...
Yeah, also, how blatantly vapid do you need to be to think that an interesting character is designed by a look? That is probably the biggest dead giveaway in this. The fact that the people like this are like, oh, she's such an interesting character because she looks like a fucking failed toilet. No, that doesn't make a character interesting. Their personality is what makes them interesting.
Have to find a way to express what you want to express, but not rock the boat to the degree that a character that looks like this would probably rock the boat. And I hate to say it, and I don't have a problem with this character. I'm very much looking forward to this game. I think it looks really, really cool. But if I was an exec...
Why? What looks cool about this? Fucking fact that this shit had a Porsche in the bag, that she's drinking a McDonald's beverage or something? What exactly are you looking forward to here? That's the problem. The only thing we have is some Akira references, and okay, are we supposed to love this because there's an Akira reference in it? No. Fuck no.
Executive, and it wasn't Druckmann, I would be like, are you out of your fucking mind? Not to say this character's face, but you're going for, she's not a traditional action heroine. She just isn't. And you could say, well, what about Charlize Theron, however you say her fucking name, in Mad Max, right? But it's like, we already know her. We know her as beautiful.
Yeah, well, people didn't really like her too much.
Charlize Theron or Charlize Theron. We know her as that character, as that human. And, you know, it goes down easier, is what I would say, frankly. But, you know, I don't know.
Also, again, we're kind of in a literal fucking post-apocalypse setting, and, you know, stuff happens versus, well, not even a post-apocalypse setting, but you just choose to be like this, okay? There is a difference. There is a huge difference between these things. Also, her character was the most boring, as far as people have talked about this movie. I haven't seen it, but people are saying the movie's not bad, but her character is just fucking boring. There's nothing about her that's interesting. And also, she doesn't look ugly. Even here, with no hair, no nothing, she still looks like a woman. Even with the stupid gay prosthetic arm shit, still doesn't look that ugly. You can still tell that, you know, she's kind of hot. This, though, on the other hand, no.
Charlene Theron or Charlize Theron. We know her as that character, as that human. And, you know, it goes down easier, is what I would say, frankly. But, you know, I don't know. I think there is absolutely a sense of, I get what these guys are saying when they say they don't like the intergalactic character. But I think there is a pushback on the part of game creators and certain kinds of people, though, because it's like, you know what? You guys are just so fucking stupid and we don't respect you. And you can't ever open your minds to...
Well, that's stupid.
Anything. Everything's got to be fat material. And I'm not saying that's the case for everyone or all of them or the majority of them, but it's...
Well, bitch, listen, I'll tell you a secret. You work for a company that needs to make profits. If this right there is not going to make profits because people are not going to be able to tap to it, guess fucking what? You make it so people can do that, because otherwise you're losing money. Because otherwise you're making trash that no one's gonna like. If you want to make something that fails, looks like this and loses money, go make your own fucking studio. Well, actually, no, Naughty Dog is owned by Microsoft or something, right? Yeah, it's like, go make your own studio and ruin everything. That's it. Then they're gonna lose money. You're a company. You're not an artistic vision. There's no fucking thing even in Hollywood where it's artistic vision first and money second. It's all about the money.
Certainly seems to be the case for a very vocal minority of them. And I'm not saying this.
Yeah. Vocal minority. We did it, guys. We are the vocal minority that somehow also chooses what succeeds and doesn't. Strange how that is. Well, I guess these magical vocal minorities have way more power than you would expect.
This guy, I'm not saying Asmongold's that. I mean, like I said, he's articulate. What he says makes some sense.
Pussy.
But I'm just saying that it may be pushing back there. Like if you were to tell me, I don't know, I don't think I'd have a problem with it. If I was trying to make a big budget game, I'd go, yeah, I gotta play for everybody who comes to hear the music. It's not just my own personal vision. But if I was making something really cheap, yeah, get the fuck out of my way. Let me do what I want. But
this is not cheap. This is gonna be like probably 400 million again.
It's kind of not the case. The hypocrisy part bothers me a little bit, just because I guess Asmongold said this.
I feel like, how many points on a graph do you need to be able to draw a line? I think that it's very obvious that these things clearly do matter a lot to players, and this is not enough of a small minority for it not to be taken seriously. And
I mean, he does say a lot of things in this video like that, where he's just sort of assuming, because he believes something without offering any statistics, that it just is. Like, and again, he may be right, but I don't really think he's offering up. Like he says, oh, well, show me a video that got less than 50% reveal trailer that ended up being a hit.
And I also hear the narrative.
Like, again, show me something that was a hit. Do those things exist? Yes, but those are just deviants, and that's pretty much it, if they exist.
That these are things that are only held by a small minority of people. Only a small minority of people actually think this. And I have a challenge to everybody who thinks that. If you think that all the people that dislike whatever game it is, I think the Intergalactic game is probably the one that's most worst received, I want you to find me a reveal trailer of a video game that has a less than 50% like ratio that turned out to be a success for a studio. Go ahead.
Okay, is he gonna actually find something? Oh, he probably has something. What is this?
Go ahead.
I can cite games with really popular reveal trailers that went on to be great games, and they weren't successful, but they have a great reveal.
Man, that's not what he's asking for, you dumbass.
For example, here's Returnal. So if his theory is right, you would assume that the reveal trailer for Returnal, you would end up with something...
I have no idea what this is.
...that would be a big hit, because the upvotes for this reveal trailer were hugely popular, and the downvotes...
Oh, wait! He's flipping it. Okay, so... Oh my god, even Asmongold would fucking never do that, because he's not even that dumb. So, Asmongold asks for X. This guy is, well, I can't fucking find X, so I'm gonna switch out the parameters and just do the thing that he didn't ask for. Okay, yeah, there are tons of things in the world that had good upvotes and then turned to shit. Everyone knows this is true. No one even cares that you found a trailer like this. We have all seen it.
Votes were minuscule comparatively speaking. So how a reveal trailer performs in terms of the initial audience reaction doesn't seem to be a slam dunk when it comes to how the game will ultimately do on the market. But
no, it's not, but it's an extremely, extremely important thing. If you reveal a game and the trailer is disliked by literally 90% of the people, then you probably have a problem, bitch. You probably have really, really big issues. And you're probably gonna fail. That's how it works.
If you listen to Asmongold, he's...
And again, there are exceptions to that. For example, the studio, everything's fine, people love it, then the studio does one bad thing, and people in protest start disliking the trailer or disliking the video. Again, Helldivers, when they did bad things, people just downvoted on Steam as protest. Again, also things like that exist. But this is completely useless. But, man... Asmongold is so fucking stupid, you don't even need to take him out of context.
Says, it is very much the truth. It does. When he just says it's very much the truth, it's like just because you say it.
Of the game and of
the irony that he does the same thing.
The story. I think that's just how it is. And
I'm thrilled you think that's just how it is, but here's what he's talking about.
That's the case with everybody. I'm sure there's going to be people that can't understand abstract ideas, so they have to comment and say that's not what I think. Well, that's nice. But
he's basically saying that some gamers will say, I don't need my female characters in games to be attractive, and the gender of the character doesn't matter.
I think that in a general sense.
Yeah, true. But for a lot of people, it does matter. I mean, and? What does that have to do with anything? For example, I will play female every chance I get. If she is not too ugly. And yes, by the way, that is the thing. For example, in World of Warcraft, I will never play an orc female because they're just simply too ugly. Especially when they go into fucking stealth as a rogue. Okay? That's off the fucking table.
It is. I think gender is a massive barrier to relatability. So if you take a character that people relate to and they can see themselves in, and you change its gender, you do fuck with a lot of people's vision of the game and of...
So he's saying two things there. If he's talking about The Witcher... I can appreciate, like I said, even though, like I said, I mean, if you're expecting the original character as the Witcher, then I get what he's saying about that here. But I got the sense most people were accepting of the fact that there was going to be a new Witcher. But regardless, in general, though, the idea that gender is a massive barrier to relatability, I would just say that that's one of those weird things where it's like people like me think people like you who feel that way are quite simple.
It's true, though. It's... Okay, look, he's such a fucking idiot. Here's what essentially he's thinking. Oh, I'm better than you because I can play a fucking female if I'm forced to play a female. That doesn't make you better than anyone else. Again, I can do that. I'm not instantaneously thinking, oh, I'm so better than you because I can play a female and have no problems with it. Most people don't have problems with it. But you know what's the secret that you don't understand because you're a fucking moron? It's the fact that people just have preferences, okay? And these preferences are not gonna change. Baldur's Gate 3 recently, Larion released the statistics. Most people, and Baldur's Gate is literally played by millions of people, you know what they did? You know what was their character? It was a simple, plain, white, male, human fighter. Or, you know, a class that's close to fighter. Why? Because that's what people just want. They want a relatable, understandable character, you know. They want a little bit of that bicurious living. They want to imagine themselves, and that's it. That's most people, and there's nothing wrong with that, okay? And that is the majority of people. Simple stuff. And this is, by the way, Baldur's Gate 3 gave this information, but there have been studies about this. People want something fucking relatable. And that's pretty much it.
And not as
World of Warcraft, human, super popular. After that, on the hot side, it's fucking Blood Elf. Because it's a hot-looking human. Simple. Again. And this guy's like saying, oh, if you can't fucking play an ugly piece of shit, then you're such a simpleton. No. No. It's actually insanely vile, egotistic, and stupid to assume that people are worse than you because they don't want to play a fucking shit on legs.
Worthy of respect when it comes to this issue. That's a terrible thing to admit. But it's true, and you know it's true, and you guys feel the same way about me. It doesn't mean you hate me or I hate this.
It does. It's not true in the slightest. What fucking makes it true? What makes you better because you want to play a walking diarrhea? How does that make you better than anyone? It is wild to be this stupid. Anyway, I'm done. That was David Jeffet, 10 out of 10. What stupidity?